there, and welcome to the Big Apple Scroll podcast. My name is Sam.
My name's Gary.
And today we're asking what's the crack about being stranded. So we're going to look at famous stories connected with being stranded. Have we ever felt stranded or isolated anywhere in our lives? What things we would bring with us in maybe a few different situations? What are the advantages or disadvantages of isolation? Or rather, what are the advantages and disadvantages of isolation? In this modern world, modern age, where we have the internet and mobile phones and all of that, are we too connected? Should maybe we have a little bit of isolation? So we'll look at that. And what imaginary friend we might have. Yeah, Gary's thinking carefully about that.
Yeah, I put a lot of thought into that. I'm eager to answer that question.
And I want to know your survival tips. And maybe I'll share some of mine if I have any.
I'll do my best. Yes.
Find out. So, eat your heart out, Bear Grylls. Have you heard of Bear Grylls?
I have not, actually.
British survivalist guy.
Okay.
English. Right. I think actually he was born in Northern Ireland, but lived in England maybe a lot. But he sounds English, but I think he was born in Northern Ireland. But yeah, he's a survivalist guy. He does a lot of TV shows and stuff where he drinks urine from camels and all kinds of things and eats bugs.
Hey, good for him.
Yeah. I don't think I want to do that.
I don't
somehow.
think so either.
It's not going to be one of my tips.
No, that's right. Yes, I want all your tips about camel urine. Don't hold back. Right? Yeah. I'll share mine too. If you start, you start.
Yeah. The best urine is
urine and mine, and yeah. You start with urine, and I'll start with mine.
The best idea is not to drink it, I
think that's some of the fine.
Just lie down and die.
Right, if you leave this podcast with nothing more than that, I think.
Lie down and die, you're better off.
Yes, that's right. Highly recommended. Death. Yes. Okay.
There was a guy, actually, so our first question is about stories.
Yes, right.
I guess I should ask the question before I answer it.
Please.
But what famous stories are there about being stranded?
And here I think you're going to have more answers than I have.
Treasure Island? You know Treasure Island, right?
I read it.
You've read it, right? I don't honestly know if I've read it. I have a feeling I did, but it was a long time ago.
It was extremely long ago.
Yeah. Longer for you, of course.
Yes, of course. Longer, yes. I think in that case you were...
There's a film called Castaway, which was very popular, very successful, as I remember, with Tom Hanks, which wasn't so long ago. Mm-hmm. Life of Pi, which was also really successful. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it, but that's all that I've
He was stranded on a small boat, rowing boat in the ocean, and there were some animals, or at least in his mind there were some animals. Spoiler alert, sorry. You might want to ignore that if you want to. If you still haven't watched it and you want to watch
Too late, we spoiled a classic movie for you.
Sorry about that, but you've probably seen it already.
We're gonna give you some tips on camel urine, so it'll make up for it. Yes.
But I was thinking, there's that story, 128 Days. Have you heard of that?
No.
There's a guy.
My ignorance here is
I
amazing.
haven't watched the film. I don't think I want to be honest, because I don't enjoy a lot of blood and gore. Although I do sometimes watch things with that, but I don't enjoy it. It's a story about a guy who's trapped. I think it's in Australia, in the outback, and he gets his hand caught in a rock. And cuts his own hand off. It's a lovely story. You know?
That's wonderful.
It's the main reason why I didn't watch this, because I don't really want to see that or think about that, to be honest. But he had to cut through it, I think, with a penknife or something. Something horrible like that. So, but it was. I think it was quite a good film, but I just don't have the interest in watching that, to be honest. But it was like an isolation, being stranded situation.
Sure.
Thankfully, in Northern Ireland, we don't have that kind of situation, where everywhere's quite compact. It's quite lots of people around. So, but you can't really be stranded like that, thankfully. But that's great place, Australia. But unfortunately, you need to be careful when you go out on your own, I think.
Yes, for sure.
Have you ever felt stranded or isolated?
I've been in a couple of places that felt remote.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually stranded.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe well, it's too long a story to tell, but now that I think about it,
tell me.
At one point, I had opportunity to fly. I was invited, or at least I thought I was invited, to visit a church in Haiti, Gaiti. That's Russian. That's an island in the Caribbean, black people there. And but the arrangements for my trip there were made by someone else who did not relay the information about the fact that I was coming to the people that I was going to see.
Right.
They made the arrangements, or I made the arrangements, and they didn't pass them on.
Okay.
So the bottom line here is that I flew into Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Right, yeah.
And there was no one to meet me.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a French-speaking place, and I could speak some French, and I could communicate.
Oui, non.
Oui,
Croissant.
Oui, non. Toilette. Right, yes.
Do you have a croissant?
Croissant, please, s'il vous plaît.
All right.
But I did speak some French, so it ended up in being somewhat of a situation because I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and no one ever came. And I didn't even have contact information. I didn't have a telephone number. I didn't have anything.
Lovely.
So I didn't know.
No address, nothing.
I did have an address.
Yeah.
I did have an address, but it took me a while. So anyway, I guess I felt stranded, a little bit stranded then.
It's not comfortable.
It wasn't completely comfortable. How about you?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I have an answer to this. Right.
Okay.
So 2 places, actually.
All right.
So we had talked a little bit earlier about Yakutia. I've been in Yakutia. And but I was in the main city most of the time. The capital, Yakutsk. But I also chose to go as a tourist to visit a village. And the village had just about 800 people. And this was 2010. It was my first trip to Russia. And although I thought that I had decent Russian, I soon realized how poor my Russian was. I just learned from CDs, actually. And maybe CD-ROMs. I'd learned some Russian. But really I had no grasp of grammar. Just some phrases.
So this is what you call immersion situation.
So that was immersion. You know what? It was, I'm not saying I felt stranded because I was fine. I was only there a few days in the like a village, a farm village really, where there were huts. People didn't live in these, but there were huts made for cows out of cow dung. But people lived in fairly good wooden houses, well packed, well insulated, and
made out of well packed cow dung.
No, I don't think there was any cow dung in the humans' houses. But yeah, I was quite surprised because it felt so remote that there was a babushka, grandmother who I stayed with a grandmother and grandfather, and they had mobile phones, or at least the grandmother had. And I was quite surprised because for me it seemed so remote. And this is my first time in Russia as well, so it seemed so remote. It seemed quite poor. And yet she had a mobile, and this was back in 2010, it was a little bit further back. She had a mobile phone and everything, and I guess the internet and stuff. So, but it seemed a little bit, wow, this is remote, and yet they have, all the technology and everything. So, but it was quite isolated in respect because there were few people who spoke English. There was like one woman basically who I wasn't staying with. She was the teacher there in the school teacher. And so there was only her. I met her once or twice and she spoke English, and that was kind of it. And so it was tricky. I did practice playing in Russian, and I felt very peaceful, I must say. It was really, really peaceful. The weather was pleasant. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't cold at that stage. and it was very peaceful.
What month?
It was so. I think it was. I think it was August, but it wasn't. You know, it was maybe mid to late August. But it wasn't so cold at that time. But it was. Yeah, I really enjoyed it actually.
Okay.
But I mean, there wasn't much to do, so I think 3 days was enough. You know, I wouldn't want to have stayed longer.
Yeah. How did you arrange that? Can I ask? I mean,
through a tourist agency. And that's all I know. I don't know how they.
Was this like off the path, off the?
Well, no, that woman.
The grid.
That woman and her husband do generally have tourists come and stay at their house. So it's the done thing. It's quite normal. She's done it before and seems to do it quite regularly. For people to kind of get the culture, experience of the culture and the weather. If they go in the winter, you know,
right. Yes. Right.
Extreme weather.
Right. Yes. Right.
Yeah, so it's fairly popular, I think, for people to do that. But it was just at the time of year it wasn't so popular, maybe. But that fitted with my education.
So
at the
people
time.
go there in the winter.
Just to experience. I guess people who haven't
crazy people go there in the winter.
You know, if people who haven't experienced minus 30, 40, 50 want to see what it's like, you know, and experience that. So there are some people. I was never really one of those. I've experienced it as part of life in Novosibirsk, but I've never really purposed to do that, to be honest.
Yes.
But the other place was the Isle of Man. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, yes.
It's a small island between Great Britain and the island of Ireland. So it's sandwiched in the middle of the British Isles. It really is quite small. And some people nickname it, this is terrible, I'm sorry if you live there, but some people nickname it the open prison. Because, well, for some people, and for me, it has a real feeling of isolation and kind of depressing, to be honest. And I found it tough. I stayed there for maybe a week or so, and it was for a purpose, to help in church work and to participate there. But I felt very isolated, and I wouldn't want to live there at all. The first time I went with a group of young people my age. This was a while ago now, and there was a group of us. I was maybe 20 at the time, and there was a group of maybe 10, let's say 8-10 young people, and we were helping the church out and stuff, and it was great, as I say, great crack, great fun. And but the second time I was alone, more or less. You know, there were people that looked after me, but I was really kind of alone, and it felt so isolated and so just you know, there was nothing really to do, and I wasn't really comfortable where I was staying, and it was just very isolated. So I have that was the most negative experience, I think. But sorry. I'm sure there's some people who really love Isle of Man, but not me.
Okay.
So I have a few ideas. So situations that I might be in, or someone might be in if they're stranded. So stranded on a ship in the ocean. This is Life of Pi. The guy was stranded not on a ship but a boat. And I have a few ideas of what I might do. Things you would bring with you.
Okay, things you'd bring with you.
So
if you knew you were going to be stranded.
Yeah. So yeah. Who knows? Oh yeah. By the way, I'm going to be stranded.
I'm going to be stranded. I better be sure and take some things.
Right. But when you travel,
yes.
Do you ever think, right, I need to pack things in case I get stranded?
I don't think that.
I think we don't automatically do that, right?
We don't normally think
but
that.
But maybe the next time you will after this.
Maybe I will, yes.
And maybe you guys listening will think twice.
That's right.
Automatically assume that you're not going to be stranded? You won't do that again. Right.
Don't do that. Right.
So if I'm stranded on a ship, and it is a big, spacious enough, but it's not, there's no way of me contacting. So we're assuming I have no radio, I have no Wi-Fi or internet or anything, no way of connecting to the outside world. No one knows where I am.
Yeah, but this is on a ship.
It's a big, it's not a huge ship, but bigger than a rowing boat. You know,
bigger than a rowing
boat. Big enough for me to walk around, but not so easy to find, I guess.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to bring a fishing rod. That was good. Yeah, I'm
You're
very
gonna
clever,
bring
aren't
a
I?
fishing rod.
Yeah. So I'm not a lover of fish, but if I'm stranded on, I think it's the best option, right? I toyed with the idea of bringing a pallet of beans. A big pallet of baked beans, with tomato sauce.
You mean when you're in your suitcase?
Well, no, I'm assuming that can be one thing, right? And I'm being very generous to myself. But, but realistically, you want to have a fishing rod, right? I'm not great at fishing, but I think I get good practice.
You could get lots of practice.
There are plenty of fish out there, so I think that would be. Okay. Also, I would bring. So I want to read. I like to read.
Okay.
And every day I read the Bible. Okay. And I know you do too. Uh-huh. So normally I do it online. But you need the Wi-Fi, right? So normally I use my laptop. It's comfortable for me. Okay. I do have paper copies of the Bible. I actually have it in Russian too, but I prefer. It's simpler for me to do it online. All right. And I can go online, and there's a website, BibleGateway.com. Okay. But if I'm on a boat, ship, or whatever, I will probably bring a paper copy, and that would be simpler. Okay. And it's not heavy, so. And it's a book that you don't get tired of. I would say there's so much to learn from, so much to investigate. I mean, it's a book of 66 books. Yeah, it's got like poetry and history, and what else has it got? It's got the history of Israel, the history about Jesus and his death, and the theology about that, about his resurrection to save us. And it's got poetry from the Psalms, from love poems as well are in there. Yeah. Actually, it's kind of quite everything, It's got a lot of different themes, a lot of different styles of writing.
It does.
Inspired by God. And so I think it would be...
I think the thing about if you're going to be stranded, like we're talking about, right, that can get pretty discouraging.
Yeah.
Right?
I would think so. I can imagine so.
You could feel like you're forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the Bible, one of the messages is that you're not forgotten.
Right.
I mean, and so that's, in fact, it's kind of the opposite of being forgotten. You are remembered. Yeah. Right? And that's pretty valuable. Not only that, but it would remind you that maybe people don't know where you are at the moment, but God knows where you are.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, He really does. There's no place you can go. There's no place so far away or so high in the mountains or so deep in the sea that God doesn't know where you are. And even what you're going through, like being stranded.
Yeah.
And or whatever else you may be.
There's actually a psalm, and I can't quote it. I'm terrible. It should, but it talks about if I ascend to the heavens, you are there.
Yes.
If I go down to the depths of hell, you are there. You see me.
Yeah.
Is it Psalm? What Psalm's that?
137, I think.
137. Yeah. It's a really it's one of my favorite Psalms. I haven't read it in a while, but I really like that, and it could be really a comfort.
Your knowledge is too wonderful for me.
Sorry.
Yeah,
from
the
the
thoughts
Psalm,
that are in my mind,
I thought you were talking about me.
Yeah, right. Yes. Well, Sam, your thoughts too are very.
But not to be compared.
No.
Yeah. So it's a really. I think things like that, and there are Psalms, and there are messages about the sea in the Bible too.
Yeah, very much
and
so.
The story of Jonah.
Surprisingly, given that it's written in Israel where there isn't a lot of sea.
Yeah, it's sort of, there is and there isn't.
There is and there isn't, but but still.
It's got a coast, but but the story of Jonah would be, maybe be really good.
Be perfect for that.
Swallowed by a great fish.
Yeah. That would be perfect.
It could be really cool. I love that story, by the way. I always enjoy reading it.
Yeah.
So something to read. And I think that would be a good thing to read.
Absolutely.
And I was also thinking yo-yo.
A yo-yo.
And I'll tell you my logic. You might be wondering why, right? Well, when I'm tired fishing and I'm tired reading, because I'll get tired reading, I want to do something, and you can walk around the ship, okay, but I want to do something and maybe yo-yo.
Something intellectual.
No, yeah, well, maybe I should bring Sudoku or something, but or crossword or whatever. But a yo-yo might be a little bit different to keep me from being bored.
Okay.
And I used to have a yo-yo and play some tricks, do some tricks and stuff. Wasn't fantastic, but if I'm gonna be stranded, maybe I can
could work on your skills.
I could really be good at yo-yoing.
Yeah, you could come back
afterwards.
and become a YouTube sensation.
And maybe
if they discover you, if they find out where you are, you can come back and be a YouTube
with a big beard and stuff.
Yeah, with a big beard, the whole thing. Yeah, you'd have to keep the whole beard, definitely. Yeah, that's part of the
no
thing.
hair in the beard.
No hair in the beard.
I would bring a knife too. I guess that's logical, right?
Sure.
I've got the fish.
Yo-yo and a knife.
I hope I would have it. Well, hopefully I don't cut my yo-yo with my knife.
Yeah, don't do that.
Break the string or something.
Yeah, don't do that.
So that would be for my fish. I catch my fish and then I can.
Well, you got the fishing rod.
I want to cut them up. I don't want to. Well, it's maybe not super important, but I think a knife would be helpful.
Sam, I think that's some sound thinking on your part.
So, well, I had other ideas. So, frozen taiga. If I were stranded in the frozen taiga of Siberia, I might bring. Well, I'd bring a good coat.
Definitely.
For this one, I would bring a survival book. Because I don't want to. There are no camels, right?
There are no camels. That's true.
I would want to know what I can and can't eat, because I think it could be tricky. In the forest,
I think
what plants?
Frozen taiga, you eat everything, anything.
But you could get very sick, I guess, if you ate the wrong berries or something.
I don't think you got any berries when it's frozen.
Nothing at all.
Taiga. Well,
you're really yeah.
Frozen taiga.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe I should just lie down and die. Yeah.
Well, no. I mean,
Well, I'm hoping that I have good enough clothing, like really
good clothes.
Really good clothes. Maybe some really good animal fur.
Yeah.
Some way of protecting myself from hypothermia. But yeah, I guess don't get stranded in the frozen taiga.
That's probably one message. Option. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
And I was also thinking about space station on Mars.
Space station on Mars, yeah.
So I'm assuming
yo-yo. You don't want to. You want to take a yo-yo there.
Well, here I'm thinking that you got rooms. I'm thinking that you've got water, and I'm thinking you've got food, because it's a space station, right? It's not. Right. It's been set up, it's been prepared, but I just can't get home. So this is the situation, right? So so I'm thinking I want a spacesuit.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later I'm going to want to go for a walk outside, but I don't want to breathe in poisonous gases and atmosphere or whatever. Sure. So I want to kind of survive my little stroll.
Right.
I might bring more books for reading, because I'm assuming the spaceship might have a little bit more space. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe so I might bring a little bit more reading material, not just the Bible, but maybe other books too.
What would be one book? I'm just curious. I don't know what book I would.
Well, I like to read comics, but I don't know. One of my favorite books has been historical book Stalingrad. But then again, I don't generally reread books, so I might go for comics, sort of
comics.
Not necessarily. Sometimes I read classic stories in comic form that aren't necessarily your superhero. Like I've read Mouse recently, which was a story of the Holocaust, but it was written in comic book form. The mice are Jews and the cats are Nazis, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So it was a difficult story, a very honest story, and but also very interesting. And it was done in comic book form, and something like that maybe, that kind of thing. I find it quite enjoyable to read comics. You've got the art, which I'm a lover of art. And maybe in a more non-traditional way. So I'm a lover of art, and then you've got sort of words to go with that and a story to go with that. Okay. So I think maybe something like that.
Okay.
And ping pong. I'm going for ping pong this time because I think I have more space. But I don't know. Maybe a yo-yo.
How's the gravity situation there?
Well, I'm hoping in the space station there's some kind of artificial gravity. Am I clutching?
Gravity really.
My yo-yo wouldn't work. My ping pong wouldn't work.
Your fishing rod, which.
Well, I'm not bringing that to Mars, but yeah, the fishing rod.
Just so everything kind of goes kerflooey, you know.
My beard would be going upwards.
Yeah, going upwards.
That could be a problem.
Yeah, there's just nothing but problems when you
maybe
take
not
gravity,
get stranded in Mars either. I think.
I don't know. Does Mars have gravity?
Oh, hang on. Well, now Mars is quite similar in size to Earth. So, and yes, it does have gravity. So I think it's similar gravity.
We don't have that problem then.
I think.
See, I'm making problems when there aren't any.
So I should have corrected you. Mars does have gravity, and it's quite similar to Earth, because Mars is a similar size, and gravity is all about the size of an object.
Yeah.
If an object is so big, it generates gravity because of the size. Right. So Mars is similar to Earth, so it would have gravity.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
I should have.
Well, that simplifies that.
Yeah, so that would be okay.
So
ping pong.
The yo-yo's okay. The ping pong, yes.
What would you bring if you were stranded anywhere? I'm just going to give you anywhere.
Anywhere for the rest of my life. Is that what is in the question?
Yeah, if you were, no, first of all, if you're stranded, let's say in a desert island, what would you bring? Would you bring a yo-yo?
I must say, honestly, I would not bring a yo-yo.
Okay. You're missing out.
I'm sure.
But okay.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself for not thinking of that yo-yo. Here I am on the desert island, no yo-yo, and I'm saying, yeah. Oh, wow. Well, if I was on a desert island, I would bring something that was solar powered.
Okay.
How about that for being a smart guy?
You're a smart aleck. Yeah.
See, that's the 30 seconds of thought that I put
into
this podcast.
But what about your fishing
rod? You've just had the benefit of the 30 seconds of
solar
thought.
Solar-powered fan, maybe.
That's right, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Solar-powered mobile phone.
Multifunction thing, yes.
So you're going to say solar-powered cell phone, and then you can call people and you won't be stranded anymore. Yeah.
Right, that's right. It blows the whole thing.
So, well, moving swiftly on. Not that I don't enjoy that, but if you were stranded anywhere, if I said your money or your life, you're stranded or your life, where would you choose to be stranded if you had to?
Wow. Well, if the classic tropical island wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
You know, the Hawaiian island type of thing.
Yeah. You maybe got coconuts, maybe pineapples. Sure. You haven't got winter weather, so you wouldn't need a lot of clothes.
Right.
Yeah. Because sleeping out even in, I think, +10 could be really, really, really bad for you, couldn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't last long.
Yeah. I had thought the Mourne Mountains, which are beautiful, quite small mountains in my region, Northern Ireland, but the weather could be a problem. It's, wintertime weather.
Yeah.
It's not super cold, but, it would be cool enough if you're sleeping outside.
Right.
It would be a problem. But, so I would love to be stranded there, but I would need to... if I had to choose somewhere to be stranded, it would be there, but I would need to be well equipped to cope with the cold weather.
Right.
Not super cold, but cold enough to cause problems.
Does it go? It's below freezing, yeah.
It can be below freezing, yeah. It's not necessarily. Well, in the mountains, probably it would be more often, of course, but generally it's +8 in the winter, on average. And so it's not
chilly,
bad, but
that's the kind of weather that I would end up getting sick. And
it wouldn't be good for you to sleep out in. But so, what would be good and bad? Well, the weather, yeah. What's good about isolation? What would be the advantage?
Well, right, yes, right, yes.
Peace and quiet. I say.
Yeah, right.
Peace and quiet. No one shouting at you.
No one. That's right. Nobody telling you what to do. Yeah, right. It's bothering you, interrupting your thought pattern. Yeah.
Distract your breakfast. I'm eating my breakfast. Leave me alone.
That's right. Yeah, you can just have breakfast all day.
No loud cars.
Yeah.
No one pushing in line.
Yeah.
At the supermarket because you don't have one.
There's no supermarket.
So what? I think the weather could be a bad disadvantage. What other disadvantages could there be?
Well, I mean, if you got a place with good weather, if you're going to pick your place to be stranded, you know.
Yeah, pick good weather.
I mean, there's some advantages to being isolated. There's, you know, it's good to spend some time alone, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Not exclusively, but it's
not for the rest of your life, but a little bit of isolation.
Yeah. It can be kind of creative.
Yeah. I think so. I don't know. Some people need that little bit of isolation, a bit of time to themselves.
I do.
Yeah.
Of course, I have it, but
some people are just seem to soak up the social. You know, they love to be around people, but you and I think both. We like a little bit of a time to ourselves at least.
Yeah, for sure.
In this modern age, it's a good segue, I think. Mm-hmm. In this modern age, we've got mobile phones or cell phones, we've got internet, Wi-Fi, Skype, all of these different things. Are we too connected, do you think?
I think we sure could be. I don't feel too connected, but I'm not on social media personally, for example, and so I'm not as connected as a lot of people are. And I think that it wouldn't be good for me to be too much more connected than I am, which is why I'm not connected more than I am. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, for me personally, I don't like to be too connected, if you like. I don't like to be, you know, I'm available 24/7 to anybody. You know, I don't care for that. I've never cared for that. And, you know, I grew up without mobile phones. I didn't get a mobile phone until I was 15. Mm-hmm. And it was a new thing then. Mm-hmm. And so some people my age still love them and love to be connected, but I'm just not. It's a personality thing, I think. I like to have that separation and to be able to just, you know, not be thinking about that or connected to that.
Right, or having to respond to that now.
Right.
That is...
There are some times where people can message you, and I think it's quite common nowadays. People expect a response straight away or expect an answer to a phone call, and it's quite a popular idea, but for me, maybe I'm not the norm, but I reserve the right not to answer, or I feel I have a right not to answer.
Yeah, sure.
Not to be connected.
I don't answer a lot of times. I always call back, but it's when it's not going to, you know, I mean, I sort of choose when I call back, and same thing with messages. I mean, I try to be considerate, but I don't like the thing of, you know, right now
you must drop everything,
and
Yeah. So I think it's down to personality too, but some people really love to have that social aspect and be connected.
Yeah, they like to be connected.
Other people, I think a minority don't want that, and maybe that can be a conflict at times.
Yeah.
What imaginary friend, right? You're back to being isolated, I'm isolated. Would you have an imaginary friend with you? Would you create one? In the film Castaway, he made one from a soccer ball, there was a hand painted on it with blood, I think, like a face as well. Mm-hmm. Would you do something like that?
I would not do anything like that. I will be honest, I would not do anything. But I do talk to myself.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's the most sensible person you can talk to.
Gotta have some intelligent conversation sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I do. I do talk to myself. You know,
I talk to myself more than when I was younger. I don't do it anymore.
Well, you'll find yourself more and more.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
You're speaking from experience.
Yeah. Right.
Well, so I mean, as a Christian, and you're a Christian, we can talk to God at any time, any place.
That's right.
So I think, and he is not an imaginary friend, but a real friend, and you can get great comfort from a feeling of him being with you.
Yeah, and can get counsel. Sometimes you can get right. That's God can help you to answer you. He can answer you. Yeah,
speaking in your spirit.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I might still want an imaginary friend just as a kind of a human companion or an idea of a human companion.
All right.
So I might still want that.
Okay, and can I ask what form that might take?
I don't know. I mean, I like to build these little men soldiers, so maybe I would do something like that.
I see, okay.
Or make something out of sticks. I don't know. I mean, it probably would depend how many years I'm isolated. I think
yes,
if we're talking years, you know.
How convinced you are that no one is going to see who you've been talking to for the last...
So yeah, I probably would, I guess I would make it look like my wife. See, this is tough because, I mean, I wouldn't want to be isolated without my wife. So it's maybe harder for me because I know you're not married. So it would be tougher for me, I think, to be away from my wife and her away from me. So maybe I should revise my list of things I want to bring. I'm going to say my wife, not a fishing rod.
Not the fishing rod. Send a picture of the fishing rod. Yes.
Forget the fishing rod.
Right. That's right. Yes. Right. That reminds me of a joke that the fellow was looking for a personal, looking for a man seeks woman with boat.
Okay.
Send photo of boat. Okay. Anyway, you get no one will get the joke, but you get the idea.
I get the idea.
All right.
So that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Yes.
But just to clarify, that's not what I said.
That's right. I did.
Just reminded you of that.
This is Gary, and I did say that. My name's Gary, and I said that.
I just somehow reminded him of that. That's all.
That's right.
Have you got any survival tips?
I think.
Don't eat yellow snow.
Don't go where the huskies go. I would say that I have like zero. I would say try to plan your life so that you don't get stranded. Mm-hmm. How about that?
Okay.
Take extra steps.
I'm not a survivalist, although I enjoy reading and watching things like that, or I should say. I don't do it regularly. Mm-hmm. But I know that one thing, you need water. And that needs to be your priority, unless you're injured, and then that would be a priority. But get water, get clean water. If you're on an ocean, you need to find a way to separate it from the salt, and then drink it. And I guess if you're in...
Maybe catch rainwater or something.
Something different anyway. Maybe you can find a way... Maybe bring something with you if you're planning. Right. But water, clean water, decent water, that will be your priority, because you can survive longer with water than you can without water. I mean, if you just have food, you'll die quickly. But if you get water,
it's like days.
You'll last a month with water. But without water, you won't last very long at all.
Okay, so take water.
So have water. Is my advice. So that was the Craic. We spoke quite at length about being stranded. I talked about various situations. We spoke about some of the media connected with being stranded, some of the places where we felt not stranded but isolated, where we would choose to go if we had to be stranded anywhere, and what imaginary friend we would or wouldn't make. Any survival tips. So we talked mostly about water. So that was the Craic about being stranded.